Don Mazzella here with you again. I get a lot of books across my desk and a lot of pitches, but someone sent me um, the idea for a book, and I had to have him on the program. So, without further ado, we welcome Mark Harari. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yep, just rhymes with Ferrari.
Okay, Harari. Okay, Mark, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Don.
So,
I'm excited to be here.
first, as we ask all our guests, tell us a little bit about your personal background, then what you do and how you do it, and then finally your website.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been marketing for over 20 years now, but I kind of backed into it a little bit. I was in college taking just courses that I enjoy. Things I didn't really have a career path in mind, so I was taking like psychology, human psychology, just fascinated me. But I also like to work with my hands. I like to draw and paint, so I took a lot of graphic design courses, and I even took a makeup theatrical makeup course. I don't know what I would ever do with that, but thought it was interesting. So I ended up not graduating because I didn't have a career path in mind, and proposed to my wife to be, and she was like, "You got to get a real job," because I was waiting tables. So I got a job at a local lumber yard, 84 Lumber, and while I was there, I started to get a book of clients going, and they would share their marketing stuff with me, and they'd complain about their marketing woes, and I would give them advice because I knew something about storytelling, I knew something about psychology and that type of thing, and before I knew it, I started getting people offering me money on the side to do their marketing for them. And then I started to get serious, and it kind of clicked for me. I was like, well, of course I should have taken marketing in college. I was into psychology, I was into graphic design, I was into writing, I was into all these things. You just defined a marketer. So I kind of backed into it, and I started a marketing side hustle while working at 84 Lumber. And then I went full time. And since then, I had co-owned a remodeling company, running the marketing department for them. Was a marketing consultant for many years, and I ended up landing here at Remodelers Advantage about 10 years ago. Came on board as the marketing director, and have since become vice president and a minority owner in the company. And my co-owner here, she and I also started a sister company, RA Marketing, focusing exclusively on the remodeling industry. That's the industry we're both familiar with, so we focus on that vertical. And so that's kind of the background and how I got into marketing and how long I've been doing it. 99% of everything was self-taught. I've read a lot of books, and it actually turns out I don't think it really hurt me too much that I didn't graduate as a marketing, because back then the internet didn't even exist. So a huge subset of what I've learned I wouldn't have learned in college anyway. But yeah, and then actually it's my business partner Victoria who is pushing me significantly to write a book. She's been actually bugging me about it for a couple years. So finally I made it my New Year's resolution for 2020 to write the book, and here we are. So
Well, what's the title of the book? That's what really interests.
yeah, so Lobster on a Cheese Plate. How to stand out, attract the best clients, and win every sale that comes your way. Most people hear the title, and it kind of grabs you, and everybody asks me, well, what does that mean? And it's funny, the story behind the title was one of the last things to come about for me. I knew I was going to write a marketing book. I knew what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. Once I had the core of the book written out and the outlines done and all that, I started to think, okay, I need to come up with a title for this thing. And I went through a few iterations, and it wasn't really working for me. And then the book is about differentiating yourself and winning every sale through that. And so one night I'm sitting there at home, it's a Friday night, my kids went down the basement to play their PlayStation. And as we often do, my wife grabbed a bottle of wine. She made a nice plate of assorted cheeses, and she brought it in with some bread and some grapes and such. And we were going to sit down and watch a movie. And Don, I love cheese. Okay, there isn't a cheese I do not like. So any cheese plate is the greatest thing in the world to me, and I can't wait to dig in. But one of the things that hit me, and that was actually the moment where the title just popped in my head, a cheese plate is just a land of really good choices. Every choice on the plate is delicious to me. And I have a struggle. You know, I was actually sitting there that night at on the sofa thinking, which one's going to be my first bite? What am I going to start my night off with tonight? And I'm trying to make this choice. That's not unlike what most small business owners run into today. They're not competing against bad companies. They're competing against companies that do things as good as they do. They all, worry about, we're commitment to quality and customer service and all that good stuff. And what ends up happening is the customer, the client, is stuck with that decision, that great plate of cheese. It's a land of really good choices. And there's nothing that makes any one cheese stand out to the others. And that's what we all face as business owners and entrepreneurs. How do we stand out as the obvious choice on that plate? And then I also love lobster. So I thought, well, if you put a lobster on that cheese plate, then the choice is clear. You're going to have some lobster first. For one thing, it's going to be the first thing to go. So I better get it before it's gone. I can always go back to the cheese. So that's the theme of the book. How do you become the lobster on a cheese plate in your market? How do you stand out, differentiate yourself? And the core is to be the obvious choice from the onset, not once the salesperson is interacting with the customer, not once you're trying to get them down that sales funnel. The moment they become aware of your existence, it needs to click. You're the obvious choice for me. And that's how you win every sale that comes your way.
And your website?
Yeah, so the book is at bethelobster.com. That's B-E, lobster, Lobster, bethelobster.com. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's back up. So if I'm hearing you right, what you're saying is you 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 want your small business to stand out so that when people think about it, uh, the first one they think about is your business. Am I hearing you correctly?
100% correct. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's back up a little bit. Um, um, for instance, in New Jersey, where I have a home, there's a place. There's um, a gutter cleaning company that has made itself ubiquitous. And when I had to clean my gutters, I went to them, only to find out that they're a bunch of crooks. So I won't mention their name. And they really took me for a lot of money.
Okay.
So my first question is, you're in the remodeling business, and I don't think there's a worse business, reputation-wise, than a remodeling business. I'm going to be frank with you.
Mhm.
Uh, how um, you're not limited, obviously, to remodeling, but how do you make sure that you're dealing when you buy a remodeling company, you're buying one of integrity?
Yeah, that's excuse me. That's a good question. Actually, so we aren't Remodeler's Advantage. I should have specified. Remodeler's Advantage isn't a remodeling company. We're consultants to the industry. So we help remodeling business owners and with everything from how they operate their business to how they're more efficient and all that stuff, but also some marketing too. And really, that's one of the biggest challenges they have is that stigma that the few bad apples in the industry have made it horrible for the good, honest, hardworking ones. And it all comes down to their messaging. And a lot of it these days is it's all about the reviews. You got to make sure you have all the reviews that support you and really good, just a good internet presence as far as approvals and 5-star reviews and all that kind of stuff. That goes a long way. But really the core, whether you're a modeler or you're a hairdresser or a dog sitter, the core of it. Yeah, actually, if I could ask you, Don, what was it that made them ubiquitous? The gutter cleaning. Are they just spending a lot on marketing and they're in everybody's face?
Well, they're in everybody's face. Their
Yeah,
billboards, their online, any place you turn around in New Jersey, they're there.
right.
And their line is, "We've been there for 50 years." 50 years ago, they might have been one company, but they're definitely a different company today.
Yeah, right.
I
Yeah,
don't say that lightly, and I cannot mention their name because then they'll sue me. But
yeah. Yeah, that's unfortunate that you had that experience. You know, that's one of the things. If that's actually what you're left with, if you don't come up with that point of difference that really sets yourself apart from the G's, so that when someone like yourself is looking for a gutter company, then your other choice is to just dump tons and tons of money into marketing so that you kind of you make it so that it's easy for them to call you because they're top of mind without any other regard for anything. And you know, that's not the most efficient use of your marketing dollar. If you can go through the steps in the book where you create that positioning statement, you identify, I talk about the 6 stones of positioning in the book, and you go through identifying your target customer, the perfect ideal customer that you want to work with, and then you discover that target's unmet need. Then you can come up with what your point of difference is. And the point of difference actually comes from that, solving that target customer's need in a way that no one else can. And once you start to develop that, then you are able to be more efficient with your money. You don't have to blast it everywhere, buy $60,000 a month worth of billboards and all that stuff, because you know who you're trying to reach. You know they're the most profitable for you. Your messaging resonates with them, so you don't have to spend that much money trying to convince them. And as a result, you're getting much higher return on your marketing investments.
well, let's go into detail and let's start looking. I'm a small business, and let's say it's I don't want to use remodeling. Let's say dog walking or
Okay.
dog or dog boarding, which really
Okay.
is um, um, you know, the number one thing I've been told about dog boarding is finding them because they oftentimes are hidden under other names.
Mhm.
Um, um, how do you go about identifying who's your primary audience for something like a dog boarding?
Really, with most any industry, including that one, if you're an established company, assuming you're not a startup starting from scratch, you can inevitably go back into your past clients and see which ones are your best. And that's where you should start, because that is your perfect cousin. And what makes them the best? What's going to depend on your industry and what it is. Maybe they're just the easiest to work with, the longest standing customer. They've been a customer for years. They understand what it is, the value you offer them, whatever it is. But you're always going to have the problem customers, the ones that are kind of, so what, they're a pain in my butt. And then you have your great customers. That's a place to start. Who are your great customers? And then you dig into that. Well, what is it about them? Are you seeing similarities? If you have 5 of them or 15 or 40, whatever it is, once you list your perfect customers, the ones that you wish you could clone, that's where I would start. And then you start to look for all those similarities. The demographics, right? So do they tend to all be women, or are they men? Or what's their age groups? What's their income level? What do they do for a living? Those types of things all come into play. You look for the similarities between them. And then you also want to look at the psychographics. The psychographics are the more challenging to identify, but these are the things like their aspirations, their desires, their wants, their needs. What do they like to do for fun? What do they do in their free time? Would they rather sit at home on a Friday night and watch TV, or do they want to take day trips and go traveling and those types of things? Once you find those similarities as well, then you're starting to mold the target customer that you want to speak to, because that's how, at the end of the day, that's your goal. I want to clone this customer. So I want to find out all these things about that customer so that my messaging resonates with that. So let's say, using your example of a dog boarding, obviously more than likely they're going to be people that are travelers and they're traveling a lot. Well, are they traveling for fun or are they traveling for business? That comes into it, because once you've determined that, then you're going to craft your message around that. Your messaging to someone that's a traveling businessman is going to be different than an older couple that just likes to travel a lot and needs to board their dog because they go to Paris and Europe and go on cruises. So your messaging then can relate to that. And you talk to the problems that they say. We know you love your dog and you hate to leave them behind, but at least you know you're leaving them behind with a family friend, right? Something like that. And so you're tapping into those concerns that the target has and how you solve that concern. The trick to the whole thing, though, is finding it in a way that makes you different. What is it that you do that none of your competitors do? And that's how you stand out and become that lobster. Because if you're saying, again, the dog sitter or the boarding company just says, well, we really care for your pet. We treat your pet like it's our own pet, and we really love it. Well, more than likely, all your competitors are saying the same thing. So what is it you do that's different that your competitors don't do? What's an example? Some example would be maybe you have maybe you are the only one in the area that created this custom app that anyone can download, and you can log in and you can see a live video feed of your animal at any time, 24 hours a day. Okay, none of the competitors do that. So that makes you different. And that might resonate with your target, because they're going to say, you know what, I can also check in on Fluffy anytime I want. Right? So you feel like, okay, this is the company for me. They know my needs and they've gone above and beyond, offering something that none of the other boarding houses offer. So that's an example of the type of thing you're looking to do. Now, that's not easy to do. You can't just snap your fingers and create a custom built app or something like that, right? And that's one of the things. The point of difference might change over time, because let's say that is the situation that you have. Well, that's not to say that a competitor might not look at it and say, that's a great idea. We need to steal that idea. And then they start doing it. Well, now you're not different anymore. So you have to start shifting again, right? So it's a trick, and it's something you need to keep always revisiting as you evaluate what your competitors are doing, because once you start setting that bar, they're going to try to imitate you. It's one of the most difficult parts of the book. I take you through a whole bunch of exercises trying to uncover that point of difference, but it's extremely difficult. And, the truth of the matter is sometimes you're not going to find something that makes you completely unique. And if that's the case, it is what it is. I hate to say it is what it is, but either in that situation, you need to make a major shift in your business model, or you need to just accept it. But accepting it costs you money, because even if it's just the one other company, now I have to spend much more marketing dollars to compete against them on the same level, in the same position in the market. And you want to avoid that. Really, the biggest thing too is you can be more profitable, because what happens is when you have this plate of cheese and you've got, let's say, the two dog boarding pet sitter companies, and they're virtually identical, and I'm the customer. Well, if they're virtually identical on every aspect, I have no way to break a tie. I don't know who to pick. And that, Don, leaves only one last tiebreaker: price. And now it comes down to price. And now you're getting into bidding wars and lowering and having sales and having a discount special, and you're cutting into your profits. So having that point of difference that makes you the obvious choice means you can charge more, you can make more money, you can be more profitable, and you don't want to have a situation where you're racing to the bottom all the time. You're working twice as hard for half the money.
Yes. Your website, your book again, your website, and your company website.
Yeah, so the company is remodelersadvantage.com. We're consultants to the remodeling industry. We have a membership program for which is called roundtables. Our members meet in mastermind peer groups, and our members are across the US and Canada. And so that's remodelersadvantage.com. And then the book's website is bethelobster.com. The book itself is Lobster on a Cheese Plate: How to Win Every Sale, How to Stand Out, Attract the Best Clients, and Win Every Sale that comes your way. Uh, the book has a lot of resources in it. I give tons of free downloads and templates and checklists for you to work through some of this stuff. Those are all available on the website, bethelobster.com. So anybody that's read the book, I refer them to the website to get the resources I have. If you haven't read the book, I don't have any kind of a check on it, so you're free to go to the website and get the resources anyway. But that's where they all live.
Okay, so let's back up. Um, I'm a new customer. I come to you and I say, I need help. By the way, we're talking with Mark Herrera. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Harari.
Harari. Okay, like a Ferrari.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I come to you, Mark, and I say, I've got to figure out how to um, jumpstart my sales. What do you say to what are some of the questions you ask me or new customers to start?
I always start with the target. I say, who's your target customer? 95% of the time, I get the worst possible answer. It's almost always, well, my target is anyone in 40-mile radius that needs thing I offer, and that's it. And then we just kind of stop there and probably spend the next 2 hours exploring that, because everybody cannot be your target. As I've already illustrated, you can't connect with everyone. If you're trying to speak to the masses, you have a generic message that has no emotion. It has no connection with anybody. I can't say the same thing to a 55-year-old professional attorney as I can to a 19-year-old freshman in college. I can't have the same message to these two people, and they're both going to think, wow, that I need to hire this guy. So you have to dial in onto your target customer. And that's usually when I start to get the pushback. Well, I don't want to cut my market. I don't, I'm chopping myself at the legs to just focus on one subset in my marketplace. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Narrowing your focus broadens your appeal to that subset. So you're actually more efficient and your sales will increase just by doing that, because again, you're connecting at that level. And I always start, you have to start with your target. It's the single biggest mistake I see all too often. My target is everyone in my area, and you're setting yourself up to fail. You can't be everything to everyone. That's always where I start. Once we've gotten through the target and I'm able to see, that's the thing too. If I could step back for a second, Don, I try to get them dialed into that. If you do, using a cliche of the dartboard, you're thinking of that bullseye, right? We're talking, I want you to drill in, get specific. I have one client, he could say, if you ask him his target, he says it's a 34-year-old woman. She works, she has young children at home, she drives a Honda, she likes to go biking and running, she likes to watch movies, and he'll just go on a 2-minute explanation of all these things that person does. Now, you sit there and say, well, that's ridiculous. So you're going to be out of business in 2 months if that's all you're going after. But see, all you're doing when you do that is you're fine-tuning who you're talking to, your message. Your message is going to also resonate. You go the next ring out. Well, okay, maybe the next ring out, she's 34 to 38, and she's got small kids, but she doesn't work. She's a stay-at-home mom. And then you go the next ring out, and okay, well, her kids are older. She's in her mid 30s. She's working, but her kids are in high school. And then you go the next ring out. So that targeted message at the bullseye is going to resonate the most powerfully with that perfect target for you, which is what you want. They're the most profitable for you. But it's also going to connect to some degree with that second ring out and then that third ring out. But as you start to get out to like the 9th, the 10th, the 12th ring, and it's going to start to get real fuzzy. Your message isn't going to connect with them that well, but that's okay because you're not talking to them. They're not your perfect customer. They actually, when you start to get to like the 12th and 13th and 14th ring out, they're probably going to match the people that when you looked at your exercise of past customers were your bad customers. And you could actually find that if you mapped it out, your bad customer profiles, they're probably in those outer rings. So you're effectively improving your experience for your clients because you're shedding off those poor customers from your messaging as well. I always start there. You want to increase your sales, you want to be more profitable. Let's identify that one target, that target of one, and we'll work out from there.
That's a really great. Mark, we're getting close to the end. Your website for your book, the title of your book, and your website.
Yep. So it's a lobster on a cheese plate. How to stand out.
Show it up there. You're looking at it, but show it up there. Okay.
I keep forgetting we're on video. Lobster on a cheese plate. How to stand out, attract the best clients, and win every sale that comes your way. You can get it at bethelobster.com. It's on Amazon. You could search it. If you go to Amazon and search for it, make sure you get the book because you're going to get lobster bibs and lobster crackers because it's the everything store, right? So make sure you type lobster on a cheese plate book. But yeah, and visit bethelobster.com to also get the free resources and tools and exercises.
Okay, Mark, we have about 2 minutes left. What would you like to leave the audience with?
You know, I guess one of the, not to beat a dead horse on this, but go back as soon as you're done listening to this, go back to your file box or whatever, wherever you keep all your history, and start pulling out those great customers. Find them, discover who they were, go back years if you have to, the ones you wish you could clone, and start looking for the similarities in them. And that is going to drive everything forward for your business. You're going to start writing to them. One of the things I talk about in the book, one of the little exercises I have in my copywriting section of the book, it's the crash course on copywriting, is a tool I've always used. It's called the Lucy letter. And for me, I had way back at the remodeling days when I owned a remodeling company, I had my perfect client was Lucy. She was the one I wish I could clone. And whenever I had to write an email, a marketing email or something, I literally would just write, "Dear Lucy," and I'd write the email talking to her. And it was always fantastic because I was talking to one person. Then after I was done writing my letter to Lucy, I would remove the "Dear Lucy." I'd take out anything that made it specific to her, like "Say hi to Fifi for me," you know, and then I was left with a great email or a great marketing piece that would resonate with everyone that was my Lucy. So I would leave you with that. Once you found them, start writing letters to your Lucy, and you're going to see an uptick in the quality of your sales leads.
Well, on that note, Mark, we say thank you for a really great time together.
Thanks, Don. It was a lot of fun talking to you.